one of the things about following both Mark and Miriam with their passion, they go on and on. So Mark just told me, Mark just told me I had to get back on track. So let me start my remarks with, in conclusion. Workforce development, as always, was an interesting group. We appreciate the opportunity to have representatives from the business community there, from the education community. This year we even had some representatives from the labor community, which was a first for us, and we appreciated having them there and their input. The overall feeling was that the Governor's Workforce Board's plan, biennial plan that was just recently passed, has come a long way in helping us as it relates to workforce development. We still recognize that there's challenges out there. We still hear about all the jobs that are available and all the people we don't have to fill them. But we were pleased to see that the progress that the General Assembly and the administration has made in the last couple of years, we're starting to address that. And if you have the opportunity to read the Governor's Workforce Biennial Plan, it's like the old Prego commercial. If you look long enough, you'll see that it's in there. So we do encourage you to go to the Governor's Workforce Board site and take a look at that. We also decided, and this is something that we've talked about for years as well, is that the biggest problem that we have is we have these great programs that nobody knows about. There's not a direct way of marketing it. My colleagues in the Chambers of Commerce and the other trade associations, we do the best we can to get the information out there, but not everybody belongs to a trade association or a Chamber of Commerce. So how do we get the word out there? And one of the recommendations that we have is that any state agency or local agency, for that matter, that has contact with business at least once a year should say, by the way, do you know about these great plans that are available for workforce development? Because it always amazes us in our group that a lot of folks don't. They say, I didn't know that, I didn't know that. So that was one of the things, and also maybe for the potential of having a line item in the budget that would allow for marketing of the great programs, because we all know we want this well-trained workforce. That was kind of discussed this morning. We were talking now, we should be talking to 3rd and 4th graders who eventually will become the welders at Electric Bolt. At the time that we should be talking to them is now, which came to our second recommendation, is to continue to make sure that we're trying to find a way to work into the curriculum. And my good friend Jim always tells me, it's never any more about soft skills. We're always talking about essential skills that are needed in the workplace. And we should start putting that into the curriculum now of our schools. All, in addition to working in teams and so on and so forth, it also came up again. It's sort of like Miriam was talking about, we have some new challenges coming up. What happens, again, if in fact we legalize marijuana? What does it mean to you as a responsibility of an employer or an employee or any other substance? And background checks from an employee. So anything we can do to help our future workforce, the earlier that we can start, career awareness is another thing. Why should we wait until we get into traditional high school job fairs? We should have people coming into the schools, and we do that in a lot of schools now, but we should, I don't want to say it should be mandated. But the other thing that came up, which is interesting, which kind of does tie into what Mark Dion was talking about, is that there's a feeling that we talked about entrepreneurial and critical thinking in schools, and that Rhode Island needs to step up to the plate financially and help those who help entrepreneurs in particular. As been mentioned, Mark mentioned, it was mentioned earlier this morning, that we leave a lot of money on the table because we don't put enough money on the table. Last I checked, we're still 50th in the way that we fund our small businesses, and while that's appreciated, if we look on the return on investment, if we put more money into small business, in the long term we'll have great investments. So those are the 3 major recommendations from our committee, and we do, again, as everyone says, this is the 10th year that a lot of us have been doing this, and we appreciate the fact that a lot of you keep coming back, and that we get a lot of new folks in the room, so thank you so much.